What a third quarter by Houston, Sam. They really came out and blew the doors off of this one.
Well, we've been kind of waiting for it. I think the Rockets been waiting for it. They've been saying it. The coach Mike D'Antoni been saying it. But in that third quarter, Zeke, they came out like gangbusters. And when James Harden gets it going offensively like that, it's over. But the defense, you and I was talking about that. Houston is doing some old school things defensively. They were still trapping Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins. Then they start forcing Minnesota to skip those passes. And now, instead of being in full rotation, they were just bumping their players back.
Yeah, and anytime you come out and you put up a 50-piece, right? You put up a 50.
I say it again, a 50-piece.
Yeah,
We're not talking about McNuggets.
No.
All right?
Yeah, but anytime you put up 50 in the third, right?
Yeah.
After a halftime adjustment, you know you've done something right. And not only did they put up 50, but they also held, Minnesota to 20 points. I mean, so they were just dominant on the offensive end and the defensive end in that third quarter.
RJ, James Harden started off 0 for 7, didn't score his first bucket until 6 minutes left in the second quarter. How did he get it going?
Well, he said it best himself. He's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to miss three-point shots. I'm going to miss layups. But it doesn't matter because I know the work that I put in. So I just keep going. I'm going to keep playing. And he has a true scorer's mentality. It doesn't matter how many shots you miss, what goes on in and out, foul trouble. He's going to keep shooting because he knows they're going to start falling.
On one make away from getting hot. That's how scorers Hey, I can be 0 for 10, but on one make away from getting hot.
If you make that shot, you are officially hot. You are. You make one, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. He did a really good job of that.
That third quarter, in one word, historic, because we've only seen it happen one other time in the history of the NBA in the playoffs, and that was way back in 1962. The Lakers did it to the Detroit Pistons. They scored 51 points against them. No, that wasn't a jab. That was actually trying to, make sure Isaiah was not on that particular team, okay, in 1962. But that happened in the fourth quarter. Tonight, the second most points
scored. The Lakers must have shot a lot of free throws.
Here's James Harden after the game.
This was a one-point game at the half before a 50-point third quarter. What changed about your team's approach coming out of that locker room?
We hit the switch that we've been trying to hit from the beginning of the playoffs on both ends of the floor. It's pretty scary what we're capable of when defensively we're locked in like that, and offensively we got it rolling. So great quarter for us. It gave us the lead, and now we go back to the crib and try to finish it off.
And you started 0 of 7 from the field before you finished with 36 points. What do you tell yourself? You don't have that's fair. So that's what you tell yourself before they start falling.
Nah, I mean, nothing changes for me. I miss shots, I miss layups, I miss threes. I'm going to keep doing the same thing, and eventually it's going to fall because I know the work that I put in. And so nothing changed. I still shot the shots with confidence, and tonight they went in.
And you mentioned that opportunity to finish things out at the crib. What's the most important principle to build on from this performance that can be applied to a closeout game?
Well, they're a really talented team down there, so we got to do a really good job of starting the game really well defensively and offensively sharing the basketball. We don't want to come back here to Minnesota, so we got to show that.
Congrats, James.
Appreciate it.
Zeke, before this game started, we talked about the fact that the Rockets hadn't really had that blow-up quarter, that blow-up game, that they were playing well, but not exactly that Houston Rockets explosive basketball. Here it is.
Yeah, and in the first two quarters, they were pretty solid, when we talk about Minnesota. And you look at Houston, it was a very evenly played game. And then the third quarter happened, right? And when we look at the stat sheet now, and if you're Tibbs and you're Minnesota, okay, you're going in and you're saying, okay, technically we came close to winning 3 out of the 4 quarters, right? And we had a major breakdown in the third quarter. So you start with film study in terms of where did this major breakdown take place and how did it happen? They started making shots, but why did they start making shots? And that's what they got to figure out in film work. Now, what we was watching is there were definitely some defensive lapses, okay? There was dribble penetration that took place. There was transition baskets that happened. So there were a lot of things that took place during that third quarter to allow this 50-point explosion to occur. But that's where they got to start from. And then Minnesota's got to figure out a way how to contain that that explosion, that burst. And all of us have played against great teams. And you talked about the Lakers earlier, right? Playing against the Lakers and the Magic Johnson team, it was like you just have to guard against that 5-minute burst, that 5-minute showtime. You know, and you don't know when it's going to come, but it could be a 50-20 quarter, right? Because they're that good. And they only do it for 5 minutes. But then you go back and you look at the stat sheet, like I'm saying tonight. Well, we won 3 of the 4 quarters.
Exactly.
You only have to play them they're going to play you even for 3 quarters, right? Good teams like Golden State, Cleveland when they were really, really dominant in the East, and even this Houston team. They'll play you even for 3 quarters because they know that one burst is the one that takes them over the top. And then after that, they'll go back to playing even.